Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Teresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome. Today, my guest is Ms. Jenny Hornby. She is a licensed professional counselor, a mom, a wife, a children's book author, and we're going to talk about those big emotions that our children experience and give you some tips on how to handle those. So welcome, Ms.
Thank
Jenny.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Listen, it's such a pleasure having you. Talking about those big emotions are so important because I think too, a lot of times parents handle them in a way that don't necessarily serve their children.
Right.
And then they wonder why aren't they going away? Why does it get worse?
Yeah, for sure. It is. And I think one of the biggest things for me as a mom is when my child's upset, it hits me, have I done something wrong that they're feeling that upset? Did I not? So it affects us in terms of our own fears and anxieties and worries. And so it becomes kind of a double whammy sometimes.
It does. And what I've learned though, it is that when our child is dysregulated, it dysregulates us. So
Right.
we've got to regulate to co-regulate with them.
Yes.
So it's like this cycle that just
Right.
keeps going. Help, Jenny, help.
I know, it is. I know. I did a class recently, and I brought this big bucket of water, and I had these little boats, and I made the water just kind of go wild, and the boats are going everywhere, and it's like we've got to calm our own water, and calm our own selves enough. It's not like we have to be perfectly calm, but we do need to have our arms around it, you know what I mean, and not be out of control. So it's and sometimes it's just pausing. I think there's research out there that even just like 5 seconds, 8 seconds of just pausing can make such a difference, because if you can pay attention to what's happening inside of you, it makes me think of like those fire pits when we go camping and you have those rocks so the fire doesn't spread everywhere. It's like when we can pause and put some security around that emotion for a minute and notice it and name it, it just makes the whole scene go very different. So
those are such great analogies because I can actually picture them and see how we can help to regulate. So it's like because a fire can be a big emotion, right?
Yes,
a fire
for
can
sure.
spread and cause some problems.
Right. It can cause a lot of damage if it's not contained. I love the idea of just, you can have that, but let's just kind of hold on to it. I picture too, like a loving set of arms, holding the emotion, as we do our kids, or other people. My kids love their dog, and so I think of just hold it and notice it. It's not a bad thing. It's going to give you information. It's going to inform you. But you can't let it be the driver. You can't let it just run amok. You got to stay engaged. But
okay, so you're telling me to feel this thing that's driving me crazy.
Yes, feel it. Yes, I know. I had to do it this morning. I sat down and just had some quiet time, and it's like, okay, what is it? What is this? You've had this sense like something's off, and we spend a lot of our energy like turning away from it, pushing it down, and it is more distressing, more upsetting, more destructive when we do that. If we can turn towards it and be curious about it. Okay, something's off, something doesn't feel right. Then hopefully maybe we'll have less eruptions, right? Because these things need to be noticed and acknowledged. And the more we push them away, then they tend to come out sideways or blow up, if we don't acknowledge them.
Gotcha. So it's like what you resist persists.
Yes, right. And I have a quote in my closet that says, pain avoided becomes suffering.
Ooh.
Isn't that good? I don't know who it came from, but it seems to be so true. We just need to notice whatever is distressing us. And I teach my families a lot and my kids a lot at work, to kind of make it a character, like Inside Out, did such a good job
Yeah.
because giving people like an image to think of for their emotions, and it's not you totally, right? It's an experience you're having, but you're more than that anger or that fear or that sadness. And you can notice it and help it. So that's kind of, I'll show you. I have my book. So this is made for this. And it's the whole idea of this little otter who's so scared. And that emotion is just taking over. And the mom has to teach him, think of that fear as like a younger friend, as a younger you that you can help, and you can comfort and you can soothe. And I love teaching kids that because they love to be bigger and be a helper, So if you're like, you are the one who can help that emotion, they kind of get excited, to figure that out and to try it.
Yes, because inherently children like to help. Everybody
They
thinks, oh, no,
do.
children don't. It's too much. It's whatever. Like, listen, let your 2-year-old help. Let them do things. Let them
Yes.
be
Yes.
part of the solution. Because I think too, that
Right.
also teaches them responsibility a little bit, and
Yes.
then it can help develop into that
Right.
regulation, right? Now that they're
Right.
doing these things. So now that we've regulated ourselves, right? We have these strategies to regulate ourselves.
Right. Hmm.
How are we going to transfer that to our child?
You
What
know,
do you teach them first of all?
so what I have liked to do is this thing Dan Siegel talks about in The Whole Brain Child. He talks about name it to tame it. And
Mhm.
so once, you kind of got your arms around what's going on inside of you, naming it for your child. You're upset, you're scared, you're frustrated, um, naming it. And they'll correct you. So if you got it wrong, it's fine, but putting a name to it contains it for them. Oh, it's
Mhm.
this. This is what fear feels like, So naming it, and a lot of times, so if they're in a really heightened state, there's nuances, right? But if they're really, really heightened, my favorite thing is to be quiet, to be present, to stay with them, not send them away. So I love to just sit with kids when they're in that state, either really, really heightened or like really, really shut down. And just, I call it the invisible hold. So I might just sit with them and just bring them my full like attention and awareness, and just maybe I'll have like a soft smile on my face. I might not be looking like directly at them like you and I are. I might be like shoulder to shoulder,
Mhm.
so it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. So being with them and being that calm, it makes me think of like a lighthouse for a boat in a storm. It's like, come to me, sync up with me. And it really helps. And then they slowly will start to talk and engage. Some kids, they might want you to like scratch their back. Some people might not want to be touched at all, and that's okay. But staying with them, not sending them away, I think is key. If you can, if you're really heightened and you need a minute, but put that on yourself. Just say, I'll be right there. I'm going to get myself together, and I'll be right there. Um, Even if you have to sit outside their door, and just, I'm here and I'm ready to listen and I love you, and just as little words as possible is what I recommend.
Yes. And what I'm thinking, that the vision that I have of that is basically you're providing them that safe space, right? You're not judging what they're
Right.
feeling.
Right.
You're, letting them know that you're there so that
Yes.
they can. And again, I love that without the words. It reminds me of a time when I contracted with a preschool,
Okay.
and I pretty much begged them to take on this young autistic boy. He was 3 years old.
Okay.
And one day, and he was a big three. I mean, he was tall for three.
Oh, okay.
And the others were They looked like they were 3-year-olds, some of them a little younger than 3.
Aw.
And one day he came in and I was sitting beside him and he started to scream and cry, took his shoe off
Yeah.
and threw them across the room.
Oh,
It was
right.
only by the grace of God that nobody got hit with that shoe because I'm thinking, oh goodness, after all I've done, like I'm responsible for this, right?
Right. Trying to
Because
get him into the
I
school.
begged and
Yeah.
pleaded because I wanted him to be included and to learn skills from, typically developing children.
Yes.
So that happened, and a little girl, like he was just, I was just trying to think, okay, put my problem solving hat. What's going on here?
Right. Right.
One of the other students said nanite, and he said nanite. I said, I'm tired. And he said, I'm tired. That was the end of the tantrum.
Oh.
And he was fine until nap time.
Okay.
Only to find out. So mom came in and they're like, she didn't look like she normally does because she was always put together. And they're
Okay.
like, she looked haggard, for lack of
Right.
a better word. So she was exhausted. He came in exhausted, didn't know how to, it wasn't named for him,
Right.
right? And he had no idea what to do with it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was the end of the tantrum.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah.
And there's such power. I'm always amazed at the power of acknowledging things and noticing them. And for you to understand, like, oh, she understands that I'm tired. And now I understand that I'm tired. I'm not a bad kid. I'm a kid having a hard time. So that's a great analogy. That's a really, really good example. Yeah, tired, hungry, both those things that they'll get you.
Yes, they will. And what I've also taught my young ones is, okay, yes, you're tired. Ask if you can take a nap. And what I've
Mm-hmm.
found, they've asked if they could take a nap. And if it was a teacher or whoever, they said yes. And that's all they needed was to know that they could take a nap. They didn't necessarily take that nap.
Yes.
Or when we taught them, I'm hungry. May I have something to
Yes.
eat, please? And they got that thing to eat. That was it. That was the end. So now they know how in the future to, put that antecedent in place, right? That thing
Right.
before the behavior to prevent the behavior so
Right.
that they can have their needs met.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. I was going to say with food too, a lot of kids, if they've had trauma around, not having a food security, just having a granola bar in their pocket, like it's there if I need it. The nap's coming. I can have one. That gives a lot of assurance and security and reduces that anxiety. I love that.
Wow. Because then now they're in control of that food and not somebody
Yes.
else.
Right.
That I never thought of. I'm going to put that in my toolbox.
File that away. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, the more that they feel like it's coming from them, the more powerful and strong they feel, in terms of I'm capable and I can handle this. And yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
I'm always amazed too. It's funny in my office, I'll have a feelings chart with like faces, and it's amazing to me just how simple like visual tools can help as well. Just say, can you point to how you're feeling? Can you show me on here? Because sometimes it's hard for them to know, but sometimes a visual reminder can help. And I just love to label it for them. Like, I wonder if you're mad, and they'll say, yes, that's what it is. Sweet.
Yeah. And what I've found that works with very young children. Right now I'm working with a 6-year-old with limited vocal skills. He's autistic with limited vocal skills.
Okay.
And the other day, he expressed that he was sad because mom was in the hospital and he hadn't seen her for a couple of days.
Oh.
And he was asked how he's feeling and, using the feelings chart. And he said sad. And I thought, oh my goodness, that was so powerful because, of
Yes.
course, that actually helped reduce some challenging behaviors that
Right.
he normally engages in.
Yes.
So those picture representations are
Yes.
super, super powerful, especially for autistic children, I think, because it takes them out of her head. I mean, I think it works. It will be effective for any child,
Right.
but especially with autism, most autistic children, I shouldn't even say most. There are a lot of autistic children who learn their visual, right? They're visual
Right.
learners, and having those visual cues
Mm-hmm.
help them to understand,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is what is going on. This is what I'm
Right.
doing. They can connect things. And, I heard a parent say just yesterday, well, I'm telling you this, but I know you don't understand. And my thing is never tell a child, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand, because you want to know and believe and
Right.
assume they understand, because then
Yes.
they're more likely to, instead of telling them, because if you tell me I don't understand, then I'm not going to, that's just something that I just
Right.
heard.
Now I don't even want to try. Right.
Exactly.
That's funny. I always think of my husband with that because when we first got married, I always like had my chair with a pile of clothes on it. And I remember my husband said to me one time, I look at that pile and I think, she'll get to it. And soon as he said that, I my pile has stayed so much smaller and it's rarely there anymore because he gave me that positive message of I'll get to it. And so I don't think we realize how much we create an inner dialogue for other people in our lives and how we expect it to go. And so I really try to say to kids now, like, you're going to get it. You're figuring it out. You're almost there. Just positive, encouraging things, acknowledging their effort, acknowledging their ability is so, so important for kids because we do create that inner narrative for them. So,
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I kept thinking about the power of yet,
yes.
Carol Dweck's book, where she talks
Mm-hmm.
about, they just haven't yet, you
Right.
know,
They will get
and
there. Mm-hmm.
exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is teachable,
Yes,
you know.
for sure. For
Yes,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. And
It's wonderful work watching them grow and learn and, encouraging families too.
yes, it is. And another thing that came to mind a lot, like I told you, things just pop into my head, and
Right.
another thing that popped in was the Pygmalion effect, right? The fact that our expectations drive our
Mm.
children's
Right.
performance, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
even students' performance, whether you're a teacher or
Mm-hmm.
a parent, you get what you expect.
Right.
The teachers were told they
Yes.
were the best,
Right.
and the students were told they were the best.
Right.
And at the end of the school year, that class excelled. The teachers were like, oh, and then they were told you were just randomly selected, right? So it spoke to the
Wow.
power of, just
Absolutely.
expectation, when we get what
Absolutely.
we expect. So
Yes.
it's
And
really
and I,
important.
it is. And I love that you're bringing that up because I think that's another place as parents that we can reflect is what is the story I'm telling myself about my child? Am I am I giving them this future forecast of failing, or am I creating a narrative where they overcome and they learn and they figure it out? I do an exercise with kids where we create a movie of their future and we create this movie and this story and these images of them, getting frustrated, but being able to handle it and making choices where they don't destroy anything and they don't say hurtful things and create that picture and noticing how that feels. And I think we need to do that as parents too, because it affects our children when they think, oh, well, mom knows that I'm just going to blow up here and have
Mhm.
this tantrum, then it becomes fulfilled. So giving ourselves, taking that risk to like believe that we can go to the grocery store today and we can do a little bit better than we did last time. And giving that expectation and also, support and a plan and all that kind of good stuff. But
Yes, yeah, yeah. Setting expectations, I think, are so, so powerful. Letting the
hmm
child know what to expect and what will
hmm
happen if or not.
right.
So super, super important to
Yeah.
let them know, because then they are able to wrap their heads around it,
Yes.
and
Right.
it helps with that, executive functioning.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that, yeah,
Yeah. Because I love like before going to a store or somewhere where you know it might be tougher, places where you know it's more of a struggle for your child, to talk about like I want you to stay where you can see me, or I want you to stay on the same aisle as me, or I want you to be helping me get the groceries and find the things, just giving them a positive direction, instead of saying, don't yell, well, now all I'm thinking about is yelling. But if I say, I want you to talk to me like I'm talking to you, you hear my voice, this is how I want you to talk. So now that they have in their mind what we want them to be thinking of and what we want them to be doing, um, I found that to be super helpful too for parents, a positive direction.
Yes, absolutely. And, it had me thinking again, the parents who, when their child is having a big emotion and they're like, watch out, he's going to bite you. I'm like, please don't say that again.
Right,
Let's just
right,
remain calm and let me deal with whatever,
right.
is going to happen. If he bites me, then I'll show you what to do if that happens,
Yes.
to
We'll set a
you.
limit when the limit is needed. Now, we don't need to do it beforehand.
Right, because then he just heard that.
Yeah.
He just heard bite,
Right.
and then,
That's
oh, is that
so
what I'm supposed to do?
true. Right. Yeah. And I get it. We can, yeah, we can do that with the emotion side of things too. We'll say, "Oh, here it comes. Oh, here," rather than, "Oh, I see you're upset. Why don't we, change the scene? Why don't we go over
Mhm.
here or get a glass of water or get your stuffy. Um, but I see that you're upset rather than, oh, here it comes and like roll our eyes, or whatever.
Yes, and that works with very young non-vocal autistic children. I do it all the time,
Mm,
where we talk about, I explain what's happening to them because, people are like, well, they don't understand. I'm going to believe that they understand. I'm going to embrace
yes.
the fact that they understand.
Right.
Whether or not you want to join me on that boat, that's okay.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I'm
Right.
going to believe it. And then what I find is, then the parents look at me, oh my gosh, I didn't expect them to respond, to react this way or respond this way. It's like, well, that's because first of all, I'm calm because I took care of me, right? I
Right.
regulated me. And
Right.
then now, because I have the expectation of that your child is more likely to do the thing and not engage in those big feelings, those big behaviors
Right.
because of that.
That's so good. I love that. And one thing I thought just came back around that I was wanting to share with big feelings is being a healthy individual means we feel all the emotions and we can identify it and we can name it and we can express it at an appropriate level. What I find have come to believe is, oh, it's not okay to be mad. It's not okay to be sad. It's not okay to be scared. And that's not accurate. The healthy person, the goal is you can notice all the feelings, identify it, and respond appropriately for that situation. And that's such a better goal rather than you can't be mad or you shouldn't have bad, sad days. It's like, of course, you're going to have a down day, but how do you handle it? Do you just totally just stay in the bed all day or do you just adjust? Maybe I'm going to just do a couple things instead, but I really want parents to just take that pressure off. It's okay for
Mhm.
your child to feel upset. We just want to teach them how to express it appropriately and talk about it and cope with it.
Yeah. If we don't teach them now, what's going to happen later when they have those
Right.
big emotions and they haven't learned
Right.
how to handle them?
Yes.
Then we have a powder keg that just explodes.
Right. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So we're actually winding down, Miss
Okay.
Jenny. Where can people get your book? How can they get a hold of you for
Oh,
more tips?
yeah. Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, it'd be great to hear from your listeners. So I have a website, missjennybooks.com. So it's MSJENNY books.com. So that has YouTube videos for kids to watch. It has parenting, little short videos and subjects as coloring books. My book, Made for This, is available anywhere you buy books. Made for This is the first one in a series. So this is really about separation anxiety, fear of failing, fear of learning a new skill. That's what this book is really focused on, made for this. So that's available anywhere. And then I would say MissJennyBooks.com is probably the best place. But I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all the places. So
Wonderful. Yeah, that book is so needed because there's so often children I work with, losing a game is a problem, just anything.
right,
We prepare them for those things ahead of
right,
time, right? We've got to
right,
prime them. Otherwise, it could lead to a big emotion.
right.
So I think it'd be very important for parents to avail themselves of your book so that they can teach their children, help them through
Yes.
those struggles instead of trying to sweep it under a rug. And when we sweep things under rugs, we trip over them later on.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and it's fun with stories because it can be the otter is scared. It's not me, so we can
Right,
talk about
yes,
the otter and that makes it a little less threatening for them.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Miss
Thank
Jenny, and thank you so
you.
much, audience.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks, Teresa.
My absolute pleasure. So actually, it's still recording, but at the 26-minute mark, that's
Yep.
where the show ends.
Got it.
Then what I do